They constructed 96 homes on my property, not by error, but by design. I inherited 47 pristine, paid-off acres in Colorado from my grandfather. When I visited the land for the first time in 3 years, I found a massive subdivision where my forest once stood, paved streets, working streetlights, and families moving into residences they had purchased for $485,000 each. The HOA president, a woman who wore a Rolex like a trophy despite never having worked a day in her life, confronted me. She called me a deadbeat squatter trying to defraud honest families. She claimed her legal counsel confirmed the land was abandoned, making it theirs through adverse possession. She had already collected $16 million in pre-sales. My response? I did absolutely nothing. I watched them finish the construction, landscape the yards, and install luxury pools. Then, I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original 1971 deed. What would you do if a developer built an entire neighborhood on your land? Drop your state in the comments. Let's see where my property rights supporters are watching from. My name is Dakota Flint. I'm a 47-year-old structural engineer, divorced, and I drive a 2008 Silverado that burns through a quart of oil every month. There is nothing extraordinary about me except for one detail. My grandfather left me 47 acres of Colorado forest valued at approximately $4.2 million. William Flint purchased that land in 1971 for $8,200 cash. He was a Depression-era man who saved every receipt in leather ledgers that smelled of pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he passed in 2019, he left me the property with a single note inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. I didn't visit for 3 years due to a divorce, 2 kids in college, and 70-hour work weeks. However, I paid the $6,400 annual property taxes every April. I had every digital receipt that in August 2022, I drove up to scatter my grandfather's ashes. As I turned off Highway 36, my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place stood 96 Mediterranean-style stucco houses with fake balconies. A stone entrance sign read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. At the gatehouse, a security guard stopped me. Residents only, he said. I own this property. I replied, showing the deed on my phone. He smirked. Sure, and I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could respond, a white Range Rover arrived. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, a woman in her mid-50s with a look of permanent surprise and an expensive linen outfit. She had the air of someone who had never been told no. Probere? She asked the guard. This man claims he owns a development. Cassandra scanned my work boots and Carhartt jacket, mentally filing me away as poor. How charming, she said. If you're looking for labor, most crews are full, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work. I'm the owner. My grandfather was William Flint. She checked her phone. Our title company ran a search. This land was abandoned for 3 years. Under Colorado Adverse Possession Statute 38-41-101, it's ours. That statute means nothing if taxes were paid, I countered. Her smile turned sharp. You know just enough to be dangerous. She handed me a card for her attorney, Brian Keir. All 96 homes are sold. Families move in by Thanksgiving. This is a legitimate, permitted development. If you trespass again, I'll call Sheriff Mitchell. We are major contributors to his department. She snapped a photo of my license plate and leaned in. Trust me, people like you don't win against people like us. That night, I spread the documents across my table, the 1971 deed, the tax receipts, and the survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, but she had also given me everything I needed to destroy her. The next morning, I called her attorney. His receptionist offered me a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if I sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000 for $4 million in land. I told her I'd see them in court. I hired Lydia Chun, a powerhouse lawyer who had once beaten a railroad company so badly they tried to hire her. After looking at my mountain of tax receipts, she gave me a piece of advice that sounded insane. Let them finish building. If you stop them now, Lydia explained, It becomes a bankrupt mess with 96 families suing everyone. But if they finish and we file for a declaratory judgment, you own 96 completed houses. They've committed textbook fraud. They'll be desperate to settle to avoid prison. It was brutal, strategic, and perfect. September and October were a blur of reconnaissance. I took time-stamped photos as the houses were finished. Cassandra eventually spotted me and called the police. Deputy Torres arrived, looking uncomfortable. She says you're harassing her, he said. I'm documenting construction on land I own. I replied, check the county records. He told me that while it was a civil matter, she had filed a formal complaint. The subtext was clear. She donated to the sheriff, and I didn't. By November, families were moving in. I felt sick watching them. They weren't the villains. They were people buying into a fake American dream. But Cassandra was about to learn that theft is expensive. Thanksgiving brought a cease and desist letter from Cassandra's attorney. Lydia just laughed when she saw it. They're documenting their own fraud, she said. Every letter is evidence they knew there was a dispute and kept building. I spent weeks digging into the Whitmores. It turns out Cassandra's husband, Preston, had a history of fraud and construction defects. They had skipped the legal requirement of obtaining a court judgment for adverse possession before selling the lots. That wasn't just a mistake. It was premeditated fraud. Cassandra retaliated by filing a false illegal dumping report against me and launching a character assassination campaign on Facebook, calling me a stalker and a predator. It worked. I was put on paid leave from my job because of the optics. My daughter was harassed online. People in my town began to avoid me. Lydia told me to stay silent. This is a Hail Mary to discredit you before trial. Let her generate evidence of malice. January 12th, the Boulder County Courthouse. Cassandra and Preston sat confidently with their lawyer. Their attorney, Keir, moved to dismiss, claiming I had abandoned the property. Judge Ramirez looked at him. Did he pay property taxes? Well, yes, but then adverse possession fails. What else do you have? Lydia stood up. Your Honor, we aren't here to debate adverse possession. We are here because the defendants knowingly committed fraud. She produced Exhibit A, an internal email from Preston to Cassandra from February 2022. It explicitly stated that the land was not abandoned, that I was paying taxes, and that they should move fast to create enough chaos so I would settle for cheap or get buried in legal costs. The courtroom went silent. The Whitmores had known they were stealing from day one. Judge Ramirez denied the motion to dismiss and issued a restraining order. If I see one more Facebook post or threat directed at Mr. Flint, I will hold you in contempt, she warned Cassandra. Lydia and I are now moving for a criminal referral and a RICO lawsuit. We've discovered this as a pattern they've used in 7 other mountain towns. They aren't developers, Lydia said. They're land pirates. Because I kept every receipt and every record, the pirates are finally sinking. Preston and Cassandra personally guaranteed the loans, meaning when this is over, they won't just lose a development. They'll lose their own home, their cars, and their freedom. I'm Dakota Flint, and I'm taking back what's mine. The conference room at Lydia's office was quiet, save for the hum of the air conditioner and the rhythmic tapping of the court reporter's keys. Preston Whitmore sat across from us, his expensive silk tie loosened just enough to signal forced relaxation. He thought he could charm his way out of a paper trail. Mr. Whitmore, Lydia began, her voice as smooth as glass. You testified earlier that you believed the land was abandoned. Yet, in your February email, you explicitly mentioned my client's tax payments. Which version is the truth? Preston shifted. That email was a risk assessment. In development, we look at all contingencies. It didn't mean the claim wasn't valid. It meant you knew the claim was a lie, Lydia countered. She pulled a fresh stack of papers from her briefcase, the artillery she had promised. Let's talk about the title insurance company. We have a subpoenaed statement from their lead auditor. They flagged this parcel 3 times. Each time, you personally overrode the flag and promised to indemnify them. Why would you do that for a property you were certain was abandoned? Preston's composure didn't just crack. It shattered. He looked at his attorney, but Keir was busy studying a spot on the ceiling. For the first time, the land pirate realized he was the one being boarded. While the legal gears turned, the American dream at Ridgeline Heights was turning into a nightmare. Word had leaked about the court hearing. The 96 families weren't just worried, they were terrified. They had invested their life savings into homes built on a foundation of fraud. Lydia and I did something the Whitmores never expected. We invited the residents to a town hall at the local library. Standing in front of 100 angry, scared people was harder than facing Cassandra. They saw me as the man who might take their homes. I stood up, cleared my throat, and held up my grandfather's 1971 deed. I'm not here to kick you out, I told them. I'm here because we were all lied to. Cassandra Whitmore stole my trees, and she sold you a stolen dream. My fight isn't with you. It's with the people who took your money and my land. The atmosphere shifted. We weren't adversaries anymore. We were a class action lawsuit in the making by February. The Whitmores were desperate. Their lenders, spooked by the RICO allegations and the investigative report by Patricia Hughes on Channel 9, froze their accounts. Cassandra called me personally, a direct violation of the restraining order. Dakota, let's be reasonable, she pleaded, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. We'll give you $2 million. Cash. Today. You sign the deed and this all goes away. Think of the families. I am thinking of them, I said, and I'm thinking of my grandfather. $2 million doesn't cover the forest you clear-cut, the reputation you try to destroy, or the fraud you committed. Talk to Lydia. I hung up. The trial didn't even last a week. With internal emails, the whistleblower from the Aspen Project, and the testimony from the title company. The Whitmores had no defense. The judge's ruling was a scorched earth policy for the developers. The deed. I was declared the sole rightful owner of the land and all improvements upon it. Damages. The court awarded $8 million in treble damages due to the RICO findings. The outcome. Since the Whitmores couldn't pay, their personal assets were seized. The Mediterranean-style mansion they lived in, sold. The Range Rover, auctioned. As for the 96 houses, I didn't tear them down. Through a complex settlement with the title insurance companies, the families were allowed to keep their homes. But the Whitmores' profit was redirected to pay off my judgment and restore a 10-acre legacy park. At the center of the development in my grandfather's name dot, I still drive the 2008 Silverado. It still burns oil. I'm still a structural engineer, though I started my own firm with the settlement money. Last week, I drove up to Ridgeline Heights. I stopped at the stone entrance sign. Someone had spray painted over Whitmore Luxury and replaced it with a simple wooden plaque, Flint's Forest. I walked to the center of the neighborhood, to the 10 acres of pine trees. I refused to let them cut. I scattered the last of Grandpa's ashes under an old, gnarled oak that had somehow survived the excavators. The bastards didn't take what was mine. They just paid for the upgrade.